class, this is Coach Riza. For today, we are going to talk about the Earth and its subsystem. Last time, we talked about the universe and the solar system, the origin of the universe and our solar system. So now, we are going to talk about our planet Earth and its subsystem. Earth is the third planet in the solar system, and according to the radiometric dating, it is said to be 4.56 billion years old. It revolves the Sun around 365 to 366 days, and the only planet to harbor life. So you might be asking, why is it 365 to 366 days? So 365 days is the normal days in a year. Well, 366 days is when there is a leap year. So these are a few of our info regarding our Earth. So all of our topics starting today is all about Earth science. So Earth science is also called as geoscience. It is the study of the Earth's characteristics and behavior. So why is the Earth habitable? So you might be asking this question, why is it that our planet Earth is the only planet that can harbor life? So here it is. It has the right distance from the Sun. Hindi siya masyadong malapit, hindi rin siya masyadong malayo. Sakto lang yung distansya niya from our Sun. It has a strong magnetic field that shields us from the electromagnetic radiation coming from the Sun. It is protected by the plate tectonics from the very hot temperature of our core. It has the right chemical materials that support life. So example given is water. There is water, there is life. The presence of oxygen in the atmosphere is another characteristic of our Earth. And it has the right atmospheric condition. So, sakto lang talaga to sustain the life in our planet. Yung ating atmospheric condition, hindi ito sobrang harsh, at hindi rin to sobrang lamig or sobrang init. Sakto lang talaga for us na kaya nating ma-withstand. Okay, we are protected by our atmosphere from the harmful rays, UV radiation from our Sun and the outer space. So those are the few reasons why Earth is habitable. So there are a lot of characteristics that proves or that give evidence that the Earth is habitable. And the mere fact that we are alive in this planet is already an evidence that Earth really can support life. Earth as a system. So our planet Earth has its own system. And system is a set of connected or related parts working together and forming a complex system as a whole. So Earth as a system, the system is all of the matter, energy, and processes within Earth's boundary. So anything that we see, the living things, the non-living things, even the microorganisms, they are a part of our Earth system. So Earth is a complex system made up of living and non-living things, and matter and energy continuously cycle through the smaller system. So let's take a look of those cycles and what are their contribution to our Earth's system. So cycle, it is one of the major themes of the Earth subsystem. It is the process wherein the material in the Earth system was continuously recycled in numerous overlapping cycles. So there are a lot of cycles that are involved in our system, in our Earth's systems and subsystems. And here are the few of these cycles known. So let's find out what are these cycles. So first is the hydrologic water cycle or the water cycle. As we all know, the general steps of water cycle is first evaporation, second is condensation, third is precipitation, and then of course the water will go back to our bodies of water. So what happens here is that the heat from the sun makes the water from our bodies of water, the droplets of water or the particles of water, to evaporate into vapor. So because of the heat, the liquid water turns into vapor in gas state. And as the gas vapor goes upward to our atmosphere, they start to form the clouds with the other gases. So with the continuous process of evaporation and formation of clouds, in our atmosphere, the water vapor within the clouds will start to undergo condensation. The process of condensation wherein the water vapor turns back into liquid. It cools back and turns back into liquid state. And when the cloud is heavy enough, or it cannot hold the water vapor anymore, it will precipitate, or it will go down back to our water or bodies of water. So that is our water cycle. Next is the rock cycle. So paano ba tong rock cycle na ito? Okay? So tingnan natin. So first is when a magma or a lava is cooled down, it will undergo solidification. So as it cools, it will solidify, forming the igneous rocks. Okay? So our igneous rocks, when subjected to weathering is when the rocks is subjected to different kinds of weather like rain, the wind, the snow. So the continuous process of exposure to those extreme weather causes our rocks to be broken down into pieces. And those pieces of rocks will be transported through soil erosion, and it will be deposited to these bodies, or usually on the bodies of water. Okay, underneath the bodies of water, the sediments will deposit there, and years of continuous exposure to weathering and the transportation and deposition of sediments, it will have these layers of sediment, which will undergo cementation and compactation until sedimentary rocks form. So it takes years for it to be formed, okay, into sedimentary rocks. And then the sedimentary rocks, once na ito ay mawala yung water natin here and ma-expose siya to heat and pressure, it will metamorphosize, or it will undergo metamorphism, turning sedimentary rock into metamorphic rock. Well, our metamorphic rock, once subjected to heat, it will melt. So, once it melts, it will turn back into magma. Okay, so that is our rock cycle. So, yung mga rocks pala natin, bago sila maging bato, ang dami nilang pinagdadaanang processes. Okay, so, paikot-ikot lang yan, yung ating rock cycle, na re-recycle yung different types of rocks na meron tayo on our Earth's crust. Okay, so next cycle is this one. Okay, so like I've said, now we had the water cycle, we also have the rock cycle. Now let's move on to our carbon cycle. So take note, class, there are a lot of cycles involved in our Earth system. So these are just few examples of our cycles that we can observe on our Earth system. So here is a carbon cycle. So it's a cycle that involves our carbon dioxide, how it is being released and how it is being absorbed in this carbon cycle. So let's see first how it is released in our atmosphere. So of course, if you burn something or if there is a decaying biomass, it releases carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide enters our atmosphere through volcanic activities, yung mga binubugang usok ng vulkan, the respiration of land organisms like us, if we exhale the air, gaya ng lahat ng living things, lahat ng living organisms by land and also by sea. The marine organisms also exhale gases. So, kasama doon si carbon dioxide. And then, the burning of fossil fuels also releases carbon dioxide. So, kung makapansin nyo, no, those are some of the few, no, kung saan nare-release yung carbon dioxide sa ating atmosphere. So, paano naman nagagamit itong carbon dioxide? So, carbon dioxide is very important, no, especially to our plants. So, important po siya for the photosynthesis process of our plants, trees, vegetation, crops. Okay, so our carbon dioxide is one of the materials needed in producing the food of our plants. Okay, so one of the main ingredients, kumbaga, or one of the main materials needed of our plants to produce their food. Okay, so kaya inaabsorb nila yung carbon dioxide natin. Okay, carbon dioxide also dissolves in seawater. When we bury some biomasses or some biomass underneath, it will go back to our earth, the carbon dioxide. Of course, the plants also, the marine organism or plants below our bodies of water also uses carbon dioxide for their photosynthesis. Okay, so as you can see, no, it's a cycle. May nare-release, merong na-acquire or na-absorb, merong bumabalik, may umaalis, may bumabalik. So that is our carbon cycle. So as I have said, no, there's a lot of cycles in our Earth systems. But again, I have just given 3 examples for you to have an idea that the materials in our Earth really does recycle. Okay, through those cycles, nare-recycle yung mga materials, may it be in the form of water, in the form of land, earth, like the rocks, and in the form of air, which for us, we have the carbon dioxide. Okay, so that is our cycles. Now let's move on to our main topic, which is about the Earth subsystems. So, ano ba itong mga Earth subsystems na ito? Gaano ba ito kaimportante sa ating Earth system? Okay, as a whole. So, ano ba yung contributions, importance, and interaction between these systems or subsystems? So, we have 4, the Biosphere, the hydrosphere, geosphere, and the atmosphere. So, let's find out their interactions to each other and their importance to our planet Earth. Okay, so Biosphere is made up of the living things and the areas of Earth where they are found. All of the microbes, plants, and animals can be found somewhere in the biosphere. The biosphere extends to the upper areas of the atmosphere where birds and insects can be found, into the dark caves, deep in the ground, or to the bottom of the sea or the oceans. The biosphere extends to any place that life of any kind might exist. So, in short, biosphere, when we say bio, it means life. So, we are part of this biosphere. Anything that is living, that has life, is under the biosphere. So, we all know that we are all important in our Earth. We all have roles in our Earth and to each and every living things na in our Earth. So let's see an example how important each organism or each living things is to each other. So here's an example. So organisms usually need oxygen or carbon dioxide to carry out life processes. And we are part of that those organisms. So we have here an example. There is a human being and a plant. So we all know that as humans need oxygen in order for us to live. But our plants also need carbon dioxide for them to create their food and to live. We both benefit to each other. We releases carbon dioxide which the plants needed for them to produce their food. So our plants releases oxygen which we also inhale. Okay? So we benefit to each other, meaning to say we are both important to each other. Okay? So if you're feeling that you are not important, okay, just think that you are very important to our plants. Okay? because you give them carbon dioxide for them to produce their food. So that is the example of how important each and every living organism, to our planet Earth and to each other. Next is the hydrosphere. It is the liquid component of the Earth, including glacial waters. It covers 71% of the Earth's surface. So 97% of the water on Earth is salt water, and it helps the atmosphere to become its current state. So, paano ito nakakatulong sa atmosphere natin? If you could still remember, water cycle. So, paano nga naman mabubuo yung clouds? No? Of course, it needs the water vapor. So, the water vapor that comes from our hydrosphere. So, once it evaporates into water vapor or vapor, it will go to our atmosphere, which later on forms into our clouds. And then, later on forms the weather. Okay? So, sila po, are very important for both. Both are important, sa isa't isa. Si hydrosphere and si atmosphere. Okay? So, cryosphere is under the hydrosphere, the portion of the Earth's surface where water is in a solid form. It includes glaciers, ice shelves, snows, icebergs, and Arctic regions. Next is the hydrological cycle or water cycle. So, we already encountered this one. It is a cycle that explains the continuous movement of the water above or below the Earth's surface. So, it also involves the transfer of energy, like during the evaporation and condensation process. And the sun is the driving agent of this cycle. So, as we have encountered a while ago, we know that the water cycle is evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and of course, the collection of the water. And then it's a continuous cycle. It will evaporate again, condense, then will precipitate, and then we'll go back to our bodies of water. But there is a lot more happening within our water cycle. So here it is. So ayan, so the water cycle. So hindi lang pala yun, So marami pa palang ganap na nangyayari sa ating water cycle or within our water cycle. Okay, so as you can see, that the evaporated water will condense, and then within those clouds, pwede na siya mag-precipitate back in the form of dew or a fog drip. Ayan, so through that, so kapag malamig sa mga matataas na lugar, yung mga clouds na naabot dun sa mga matataas na lugar, nagiging fog. Okay, so in the form of dew, ayan, nagpa-precipitate back na siya to our land. But, yun nga, mostly, it will precipitate in the form of rain or ice sa mga malalamig na lugar. So, ice or snow. So, yun po, babaksak yung mga na-evaporate and then na-condense back at na-accumulate sa clouds natin through precipitation in the form of droplets of water, or rain, or ice and snow. Okay, and then we'll later on go back to our bodies of water. And it will continue the cycle of evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Okay? So let's move on to our atmosphere. So atmosphere is a gaseous sphere and it envelops the Earth. Consists of a mixture of gases composed primarily of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. So, atmosphere is a set of layers of gases that surrounds or protects the planet that is held by the planet's gravity. So, ito yung isa pang pumaprotekta sa atin, ang ating atmosphere. And our atmosphere has compositions. So, let's see the atmosphere's composition. We have nitrogen, which is 78%, oxygen, which is 20.95%, argon is 0.93%, and other gases is 0.04%. And within that 0.04% is our carbon dioxide. Ayan. So, napakaliit lang pala na fraction yun ng ating, or sa percentage sa ating atmosphere. But, as you can see, napakalaki ng nitrogen, Napakalaki ng kanyang percentage. So, you might be asking, ano po ba yung nitrogen, ma'am? So, nitrogen gas po is very vital in the formation of our DNA. Ayan, sa mga amino acids natin, proteins, kasama din siyang inaabsorb ng ating mga plants sa atmosphere, sa air, ang nitrogen gas because it's one of the ingredients needed in the formation of their food. Okay, so of course, nitrogen is very vital to life itself and also the other gases like our oxygen and other gases. Okay, so they are very vital. That is why our atmosphere is very suitable for us. So that is why our planet Earth is also habitable. Okay, so we have here the atmosphere layers. Ayan, so as you can see, that is our atmosphere. It comes in different layers. It's the one that protects us from the outer space and the harmful UV radiation from our sun. So as you can see, we have there, our first layer is our troposphere. So our troposphere here is malapit sa ating lithosphere. Okay, siya yung pinakamalapit sa ating planet. Okay, so our troposphere, doon makikita lahat ng mga clouds natin, mga weathers natin, yung mga formation ng mga storms, thunderstorms, or kung ano man, no, yung weathers natin and all, dito matatagpuan. And mostly, our air is matatagpuan dito sa troposphere natin. Okay, sa stratosphere naman, dito matatagpuan yung ozone layer natin. Ayan, yung ozone layer natin yung pumaprotekta sa atin na from the harmful rays of the sun. Okay, so si stratosphere, medyo konti na lang yung percentage ng air dito. Especially kay mesosphere. Ayan, si mesosphere, medyo manipis na yung air dito. And dito rin napapansin yung, pag may napapadang meteorites, dito nagbe-burn yung mga meteors na iyon. Sa thermosphere naman, matatagpuan yung tinatawag na mga satellites natin. So, yung akala natin sa outer space napapadpad yung satellites natin, hindi pa pala yun, outer space. So, nasa thermosphere lang pala yung mga satellites natin. So, most of the satellites matatagpuan sa thermosphere. So, very manipis na yung air natin sa thermosphere. So, halos hindi ka na makakahinga dito sa layers na ito. And pagdating sa exosphere, which is also called the final frontier, ito na yung mas malapit sa space. That is why the characteristic of exosphere is like space-like na siya. Halos wala na talaga ditong air. Okay, hindi ka na makakahinga dito sa exosphere. Okay, sobrang nipis na pagdating dito. And then dito, halos wala na. So that is our atmosphere, the layers of our atmosphere. And more info is here. So you can read it later on about the infos of the layers of the atmosphere, our troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. Now let's move on to our geosphere or the lithosphere. So the Earth's solid surface, often called the crust of the Earth. It includes the continental and oceanic crust as well as the various layers of the Earth's interior. So, for our geosphere or lithosphere, it's like a review of our Earth's layer. So, let's see. Lithosphere. So, we have here our inner core, our outer core, the mantle, and the crust. Ayan. So, alam na alam natin to, no? Since elementary days, ito na yung nakikita natin na illustration of our structure of our Earth. Okay? So, first, the crust. It is the light and very thin outer skin of our Earth. So, the outermost layer where energy and mineral resources are derived. So, dito lahat yan nakukuha or namimina yung mga mineral resources natin, yung mga cycle na nangyayari like our rock cycle. So, nandito po yan lahat sa ating crust. It's the thin layer of our Earth. Okay? So, there are different elements now that compose the Earth's crust. So, here is the list. So, it's oxygen, silicon, aluminum, iron, calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, titanium, hydrogen, and many others. So, these are just a few of those elements that compose our Earth's crust. So, there are a lot, but we're not going to memorize it all. This is just to give you an idea na ito yung mga elements na makikita natin sa ating Earth's crust. So our mantle is less dense layer of our Earth, made up of silicate rocks, mostly made of the elements silicon, oxygen, iron, and magnesium. So ang ating mantle, no, although it's a whole, it can be divided into two, which is the upper mantle and the lower mantle. So yun po yung gitnang part ng ating structure of our Earth. And last but not the least is yung pinaka-center, which is our core. It is denser layer of the Earth, and it is where our Earth's magnetic field is found. So it strengthens the idea that the Earth's outer core is molten. So as we all know, it is in liquid or molten form, while the inner core is the solid or in solid form. Okay, so that is our core. So review lang po talaga ito, no? So we have, no, in our geosphere or lithosphere is our structure of the Earth, which is the crust, mantle, and our core. So here are more info about the internal structure of the Earth. So you can read it later on to your asynchronous class. So we're not going to focus much on this part. So let's move on to our next part. Okay, so we have encountered a while ago the rock cycles, and we also encountered the different types of rock types. So here's the examples or the image of our rock types. We have here the igneous rock, sedimentary rock, and the metamorphic rock. So ito po yung itsura nila, yung typical na itsura nila. But they varies depending on the type of the rocks. So meron pa po siyang mga types under each rock. So later on, we will talk about that on our next topic. Okay? So next is the Earth system. Okay? So the Earth system. So here is our main topic na. We are on to our main topic for this lesson. So as we all know, we have already talked about our spheres, right? So we have our hydrosphere, atmosphere, biosphere, and lithosphere. And as I have mentioned, each spheres are connected to each other. So as you can see, the arrows shows their connection. They are connected to each other, and each sphere can affect another sphere depends on the event that could happen on that certain sphere. So as I have said, they are all connected to each other and they have interactions with each other. So one atmosphere can affect the other one sphere can affect the other sphere. Okay, so let's find out now what will happen to our spheres if a certain event happened. So what is the cause and effects and their interaction? So we have 3 examples. So let's begin. First is we have an event which is a volcanic eruption. As you can see in this picture, we have here a volcanic eruption. And the event came from our geosphere. So, nagsimula siya sa ating geosphere. As we all know, this is a volcan, so it's part of our geosphere. So, paano ba ito nakaka-apekto sa ating atmosphere? At paano ba ito nakaka-apekto sa ating biosphere? Okay? So, simulan natin kay biosphere. So, biosphere, we are part of this. Okay? Any living organism, living thing is part of our biosphere. So, paano ba tayo naapektuhan nito? Of course, we are very affected much here if there is an volcanic eruption. First is that the fact that everything that a volcano spew out is very hazardous for us living things. Okay? Or any living organism in that area could die. Okay? Because of the hazards na meron sa ating vulkan. Okay? So, very affected much tayo. And one example of this is when the Taal volcano erupted. And we have seen sa news, yung effect nitong ating vulkan, yung pagsabog ng vulkan sa mga animal, sa mga tao, sa mga crops, sa mga vegetations, and all. So, ang laki ng nasira, ang lawak ng na-affected. Okay? Madaming namatay na animals, plants, and affected na human beings because of this event. Okay? So, ano naman yung effect nito sa atmosphere natin? Okay, so yung mga volcano natin, nagbubugayan sila ng mga gases. And those gases are very harmful to our health. So, we all know that yung mga bulkano, kapag pumutok, nagbubuga ito ng mga gases and dust. Ayan. So, kasama yan, no, yung mga hazardous gases na nilalabas ng ating vulkan sa atmosphere natin is very harmful for our biosphere and also dun sa ating atmospheres because bumababa yung air quality ng ating atmosphere. Okay? So, dahil nahaluan nga ito ng mga gases or hazardous gases and dust. Okay? So, that's how it affects our atmosphere and at the same time affects our biosphere. Now, let's move on to our next system interactions. We have here atmosphere as the source of our event and how does it affect our hydrosphere, geosphere, and biosphere. So we have here an example of an event which is bagyo. Isang napakalakas na bagyo. And an example that I'm going to give you is yung bagyong Yolanda. Paano ba ito nakaka-apekto sa biosphere, geosphere, and hydrosphere? First, unahin na natin talaga tong si biosphere. So, sa biosphere, no, kita naman natin from the news no, that there are a lot of people died because of this bagyo, yung bagyong Yolanda. Dahil nga sa sobrang lakas ng bagyong ito, sobrang lakas ng hangin, ulan na idinulot neto. Okay, ang daming namatay ng mga animals and humans, no? Ating biosphere, pati yung mga halaman natin, mga crops, ang daming nasira. Aside from that, no, hydrosphere, sa sobrang lakas ng hangin, no, nagkaroon ng mga storm surges na tinatawag. Dahil sa storm, na-affected din si hydrosphere, no, nagkaroon ng storm surges, which also affected our biosphere. Ang daming namatay dahil sa storm surge na iyon. Also, our geosphere, since napakalakas nga nung pag-ulan at hangin at with storm surges, no, our landforms are also damaged. So, nagkaroon ng mga landslide, flash flood that causes an effect on our geosphere. So, because of our atmosphere, an event from our atmosphere affected si hydrosphere, geosphere, and biosphere. Next is earthquake. Ayan. So, system interaction. So, paano naman kung yung event ay earthquake? So, geosphere ulit. Paano ito naka-apekto sa biosphere, atmosphere, and hydrosphere? So, natin si biosphere, of course, pag merong earthquake, pag natabunan ka naman talaga na mabibigat na bato, ikaw ay madededs. Okay? So, yun nga po. Pag may earthquake, okay, maraming nasisirang infrastructure, maraming nasisirang properties, na pwedeng ikamatay nga nung ating mga living things or living organisms. Si hydrosphere naman, paano naman ang effect nito kay hydrosphere? Kapag may earthquake kasi, and let's say there is an earthquake within an area where maraming industrial plants or chemical plant or power plant, kung ano mo malilik doon dahil sa earthquake, masisira yung kanilang mga infrastructure, may possibility of leakage ng mga hazardous materials na papunta sa ating water, okay, bodies of water. So, yun po, makaka-affect siya talaga sa ating hydrosphere. Also, sa atmosphere, marirelease yung mga gases, hazardous gases to our atmosphere. Now, that is because of the earthquake. It affected both the biosphere, atmosphere, and our hydrosphere. So, those are the interactions within our system. Sa ating Earth system, no? So, each spheres, no, can affect each other. They are interconnected to each other, related to each other, and any event has cause and effects, and there are a lot of interactions, no, within our Earth system. Okay, more specifically sa our spheres. So, why do we study Earth system? So, bakit nga ba natin ito pinag-aaralan? Una, for us to know the global implications of these events. Okay, ano ba yung mga makukuha natin from these events, no? Paano ba tayo makakatulong, no, to predict the outcomes? So, since we have already experienced, no, for sure, we can also predict, no, the outcomes, the possible outcomes of this natural disasters. So, of course, preparation for natural disasters is very important. Yan. And we can also see the environmental impacts of human activities. We are also involved here, no? Sa human activities natin, no? It can also cause, no, environmental impacts. sa resources and economics, paano ba nakaka-apekto yun sa ating mga resources and economics, the hazards that we can encounter during these events. We can also have this human sustainability and safety, yun nga, awareness and preparation. So, engineering, improvements sa infrastructure, sa military, improvements sa rescue, so, and pure science and understanding. Okay, so Earth Science informs all other sciences. So, yung Earth Science natin, connected yan sa iba't iba pang science. Okay? So, sabi ko nga, na-encounter natin, di ba, yung chemistry, physics, biology, and other sciences. So, they're all interrelated to each other. So, and finally, to understand the nature of our own backyard. So, why do we have to study this? It's because we are living in this planet. Dito tayo nakatira. This is our home, our planet, Earth. So, that is why we have to know these things, these phenomena that happens, that might happen also to our planet. And for us to become aware and to become responsible, and of course, to prepare for those certain events that might happen in the future. Is everything clear? Any question? If you have any question, just chat me on via Messenger or via LMS chat box. Thank you for listening. I hope you've learned a lot. Reminders, read and review our lessons, watch all video links, answer all activities. It's all posted at Module 1. Please do this during your asynchronous schedule for ELS. Again, thank you and hope to see you in our next class. Bye!